Yes.
Great. Okay. So shifting gears a bit, I want to talk about a project that we're doing at RIT to integrate standards on risk disruption and business continuity into the curriculum as part of capacity building for organizational resilience. Main session objectives are to illustrate and review RIT's approach to integrating risk management standards in the curriculum as a means to build student capacity for standards implementation and prepare them to contribute towards organizational and perhaps community resilience as emerging professionals. So I'll give you a little bit of background on our approach and why we advocate for standards-based curriculum, our project goals, our overall approach, and some our anticipated and interim project impacts. So to give you a little bit of background, the National Institute of Standards and Technology under the U.S. Department of Commerce has long been a proponent of standards education through their standards services curricula program. And we go back with NIST to a project that we started in 2016 that they funded also. But while RIT's Environmental Health and Safety Management Master's Program has incorporated quality, environmental, and health and safety standards in the curriculum since its inception in 1996. NIST awarded us a grant in 2016 to integrate international standards, ISO standards in particular, into our environmental health and safety and civil engineering technology undergraduate programs at that time. And fast forwarding to 2020, I'm just checking my notes. But yeah, in the midst of the pandemic, another team of RIT in partnership with the Finger Lakes Community College, which is part of it's a campus as part of the State University of New York system, and RIT's Collaboratory for Resilience and Recovery. We're awarded a grant to integrate a broader range of risk management standards into the curriculum in environmental health and safety, sustainability, construction management, and instrumentation and control technologies programs. So this current project focuses on two priorities. The first being standards literacy, so preparing students with tangible skills and the capacity to identify and apply relevant standards in their professional disciplines. And secondly, capacity building for organizational resilience by preparing students as emerging professionals to effectively identify and manage risk. So a quick introduction to our project team. And I think I have some, I thought I had animation on this screen, but I'm not seeing it. So our core team within the College of Engineering Technology at RIT includes Dr. Jennifer Schneider, Dr. Dawn Hess, and myself. And all of us came to academia with over 10 years of experience in industry. We were including Dr. Yewande Abraham as well, faculty in civil engineering, technology, and construction management, and then partnering with Dr. Sam Samanta at the SUNY Finger Lakes Community College, who's the program director for instrumentation and control technologies programs there. So we're focusing on standards in the curriculum and particularly risk-related standards in their curriculum, as we're seeing an increasing presence of standards being used in and guiding professional practice. And further, the COVID-19 pandemic has really been a painful reminder that disruption is an inevitable factor in business and society. And there's a clear need to be able to mitigate and manage risk. And the inability to do that can cause significant and potentially irreparable damage to businesses, the economy, and overall our ways of life. So curricula that incorporate and apply key standards used in the US can offer students a rich skill set in preparation for effective performance as they enter the workforce. These standards will shape not only how our society deals with vulnerability and disruption, but in turn will shape the standards of how the professional will create value for society. So our project included goals in 4 areas. So curricular, faculty development, educational effectiveness, and dissemination goals. On the curricular side, focusing on developing and embedding reusable and customizable course modules on risk disruption and continuity at both graduate and undergraduate levels. And then faculty development, so supporting cross-disciplinary faculty expertise development in these areas, and in connection with related standards by sharing our materials, our process for development, and content across the 2 academic institutions, as well as externally with two external universities, including the the Whitman School at Syracuse University and the State University of New York campus at Brockport. And that's in part because one of the things that we found with our earlier study is that one of the barriers for incorporating standards in the curriculum has to do with faculty comfort level with the material and content. And some of the standards are really, written almost in their, while in English, it's sort of its own technical jargon, which can be difficult to digest and then implement in the classroom without a deeper understanding. And then educational effectiveness goals using a proven educational structure based on research and disseminating our results. So I'm trying to move along fairly quickly, but just to give you an idea of how our approach was structured, we organized our efforts under 3 learning modules. So multidisciplinary standards-based learning modules at graduate and undergraduate levels, focusing on 3 domains. So risk, including risk and vulnerability assessment, mitigation and response, disruption, including disaster and emergency preparedness, operations and response, and continuity, focusing on proactive strategies for recovery, continuity, and organizational resilience. And our main approach here was not necessarily to dig into the details of every one of these standards, because there are a broad range of standards that deal with risk in different situations and contexts. And what we really wanted to do is to enable students to identify and apply the standards that are relevant and applicable within their discipline or for an organization, an organization's particular context and locality, because risk management can be very context-based. But some of the key standards that we focus on include ISO risk management, business continuity management systems, and supply chain continuity standards, the FEMA risk and incident management standards, including the National Incident Management System standard, the NIST risk management framework for information security risk, and the National Fire Protection continuity, emergency, and crisis management standards. So our approach in looking at the key standards for risk disruption and continuity, we identified 8 themes across the standards and then applied those across our modules, and those are shown on the right as leadership and strategy, critical operations and infrastructure, business impact analysis, risk assessment and reduction, crisis communication, training, testing, supply chain and disaster and emergency resources. So our approach supports both horizontal and vertical integration of the curricular material into a variety of courses and majors, and can support student learning at various depths from introductory to full proficiency, depending on the nature of the course and the level of the course. So this table kind of shows how the 8 themes across the risk, disruption, and continuity standards map to the 8 courses in which we're testing the content. So the educational content is being tested in 8 courses at RIT and the Finger Lakes Community College, and focusing on environmental health and safety, construction management, and instrumentation and control technologies programs, 3 at the graduate level and 5 at the undergraduate level. And the check marks are indicating the themes that are particularly relevant for each of those courses. But the content is structured in, each module has several elements, and in a particular course, the instructor can select the components of those modules or the elements of those modules that are most relevant for their course and related learning outcomes. Our modules include educational content, typically in PowerPoint form, supplemented by instructor materials, including an overview with description and rationale of the module and the related standards, the intended learning outcomes, the educational content, as I mentioned, and then sample questions and exercises, including scenario-based exercises that instructors can use to reinforce the content in the classroom. Supporting resources for the instructor, but also resources that could be used as maybe assigned readings in the class, and then assessment tools such as rubrics to help instructors to assess the effectiveness of the content and the extent that students achieve the learning outcomes in relation to them. Our educational content included 3 forms of interaction. So participant content interaction through classroom or online lectures, class exercises, homework and examination questions. Participant interaction incorporated through in-class exercises, discussion in class or online discussion boards, and group homework assignments and projects. And participant instructor interaction during the classroom presentation and in-class exercises. And we really try to encourage an active or problem-based learning approach so that students are introduced to the standards, but then have an opportunity to apply them and sort of practice using them in some way, so that they're maybe less teacher-centered and more student-centered learning approach. Housekeeping is knocking at my door. So at any rate, in terms of assessment and validation, we employed content review of our module materials during development by internal faculty evaluators. We evaluated students' learning. Our main metric was for at least 80% of students to achieve at least a B, or B or better on relevant graded assignments, projects, and exam questions. And so far, what we've seen, it's exceeding that. For one of the classes that I use this in, 100% of the students achieved a B or better. And then also external review of materials by our external partners, SUNY Brockport and Syracuse University, as I mentioned. And dissemination internally with other programs at RIT, and those programs are able to fully use as much of our content as they have an interest in. externally through the validation institutions, who they also have access to all of those materials. And then we will share what we can of what we develop externally through the RIT Collaboratory for Resilience and Recovery website. In terms of impacts, so our standards-based curriculum was aimed at capacity building, building student capacity and standards implementation, and enhanced risk management capabilities, using a risk-based approach with standards as proactive tools for risk management in a variety of disciplines and programs. So working to enhance student capabilities, but also faculty capabilities to be able to incorporate and teach about standards. And then that in turn can have a positive impact for organizations that hire students upon graduation as standards literate entry-level professionals. So far in this particular project, including the current semester, we've engaged a little bit over 200 students with our educational content, involving 7 instructors at 4 different universities. And also, in addition to integrating the content in existing courses, we're proposing a new standalone course that utilizes virtually all of this content, titled Design for Resilience in a Changing World. And that would be a general education course, initially trying to target students in the College of Engineering Technology, but as Gen Ed, it would be available to students in any discipline and any program across the university. And then just, you know, we won't have all the assessment results until the end of the semester, but some comments from instructors in relation to the use of the modules, and the educational content has been really positive, both in relation to the materials as well as the active learning and scenario-based exercises that we have incorporated into the modules. So far, science suggests our approach has been successful, both in student learning experience and in faculty development. And really by creating modular sets that include instructor guidance, educational content that could be used in a variety of settings, and options for appropriate classroom activities and assessment tools, the curriculum can be readily customized and implemented in a variety of settings. And we've seen positive results with that so far. And I'd just like to close. Our project promotes standards literacy using active and problem-based learning to promote stronger retention among students and enable them to recognize and be able to implement the standards that they'll use in professional practice. And again, I just like to close with the idea that standards shape how our society deals with risk, with vulnerability and disruption. And in turn, that shapes the standards of how emerging professionals and professionals in general can create value for society. So any questions?